Today's a special day. It's the Pesach Sheni. Sure.
Thank you.
Pesach Sheni, Nishtakim Fafalm. It's a very exciting day.
And then when you go out.
To many of us that sometimes we feel that Negora. Today we know Loma Negora. Today we know that Mekenish Nishtakim Fafalm. Even if Chas V'Sholom Lochem, if it's our fault, Mach Nishtois, but Nishtakim Fafalm. So we're even going to be mashlim something of the theme of this Pesach. It's a shkocha prot. It's just someone just asked the shaila because after at the end of it, this is. Hello. Hello. The eggs are not here. No. He says maybe it's outside. Maybe it's on the porch. There.
You didn't return?
Okay.
Zark didn't pick up?
No, sorry, didn't pick up.
What do you want to say?
Okay, so here's a shaila.
Not on the porch.
There were two guys at an event, mit getrunken, las kiritzonish v'ish, mit getrunken and getrunken and getrunken. They drank, and then after the party, apparently Reuven and Shimon were having this little bit of a heated discussion, and Reuven is standing outside and Coney Island Avenue, and Shimon puts his hand like this on his back, and he feels threatened, and there is a very short conversation that ends up landing Shimon a punch in the nose. And he goes to the doctor, to the hospital, and now Reuven asks me, what are his rights in Bezdin? Should he go to Bezdin? Should he not go to Bezdin? My answer is definitely he should go to Bezdin. Chas v'sholom, chas v'chalila, anything else, if they want to work it out. That's not the question. And he did go to a Bezdin, and a good Bezdin, here in a reputable Bezdin. I spoke to the masker in the Bezdin. But he wanted to know what are his rights in Bezdin.
He lost work. He
Huh?
had injuries.
So the person the nizik came right away running with a bill of I think it was $20,000, but in his hand he had a bill only for $150. But he couldn't go to work, and he's going to be anticipated bills, and he was threatening that he would go to the police. So he requested $20,000. He had a doctor bill for $150 in his hand. So there's a little bit of a difference between $150 and $20,000. So here, this was the shayla.
Slight difference.
Yeah.
This actually happened?
Yeah. The shaylas I always say are usually shaylas I get. Average recently I get 3 shaylas a day. So
Most of it was painless.
Huh?
Most of it was painless.
So let's talk about this Bekitz and Nimritz, but it's kedai to look into it. It's a shaychas of the Rambam we learned this week, and also the Parsha of this week, the Parsha we just read. The Rambam paskins hilchas chayvel u'mazik, chayvel b'chaveri, chayvel shalom l'chamisha dvorim. A person that makes a chabola in his friend has to pay him 5 things. Ve'elahin, nezek, damage, tsar, pain, ripui, healing, sheves is loss of wages, boishes, and embarrassment. Okay. So the Rambam goes through exactly how you estimate all 5 of these things. The bottom line is like this, that besides Ripui, which is doctor bills, and Sheves, which is direct loss of wages, the other 3 are called Knas. And this is called Mammon. What's the difference of Knas and Mammon? It's a technical difference. This is a punishment. The other ones are punishment. The Torah says, what's the difference? The difference is simple. That a Knas can only be demanded by a Bezdin that has smicha. Why? Because in general, the Gemara says that shluchusai derabanan kavdinon. We don't have smicha.
I mean, I know smicha means nowadays. What does smicha mean back then?
The smicha meant that the Bezdin gave permission, that Moshe Rabbeinu put his hands on Yeshua and gave him permission to adjudicate, And Yeshua did that to the next Bezdin, and so went on for many generations. The smicha was lost in the time of the Romans, because the Romans said that smicha will only be given on the pain of death. And the Gemara tells a whole dramatic story about one of the Meroim that was killed with 300 spears because he gave smicha to his Talmidim and he had Mesiras Nefesh to give, but eventually the smicha stopped. It's not so clear when the smicha stopped. The Rebbe has a very big theory about this. He holds that the smicha didn't stop for many, many, many generations, and up to the Jews living in Spain, the Rebbe holds that secretly smicha was still going on. It's a very interesting shit that the Rebbe has. I spoke about it on Rosh Hashanah, I think 2 or 3 years ago. I spoke about the city of Alisna, that's tucked away somewhere in the mountains in Spain. That Ada Yom Hazeh, Parsha, today, most of the town light the candles Friday night, and they have no idea why, and they also don't mix milk and meat.
Is that what you said? Something you went to?
Yeah.
A pharmacist wanted something. Everyone has candles.
Yeah. So the Rebbe holds that smicha went on for many, many generations, but we don't have smicha today, and the Gemara says if you don't have smicha, you could only adjudicate on things which is shlichusai derabanan, which is where a shluchim of the original Bezdin, and they only give us a right to sit and Bezdin for momenus, for things of money, not for knas. So therefore, any damages that are not momen, you can't demand them Bezdin. Now, in general, what a Bezdin does today is the Shulchan Aruch Siman Yud Beis and Chesh Mishpat says you should try to do a pshara karav l'din, a pshara which is close to the din, so you don't have to be mamash at the letter of the law, but you try to work out a pshara between the two sides. What every Bezdin does today is they have the two sides sign a binding arbitration agreement. Otherwise, the Bezdin is wasting their time, and the two sides are wasting their time. They sit there for many hours, work out a whole deal, and one of the sides doesn't like it and then walks away. If there's a binding arbitration agreement, then it's binding. If one of the sides refuses to pay, eventually it can go to Bezdin. Bezdin will give them permission to go to court, and it'll be enforced.
Oh, the arbitration agreement?
Yeah, so that's what the Bezdin does. They have them sign a binding arbitration agreement because both sides, they don't want to waste their time. A guy, he works out a deal, even if it costs them a couple of dollars, but the problem supposedly goes away. But if there's no binding arbitration agreement, then the problem didn't go away. The other guy's not happy. And he can go and file a report.
I'm saying, so are there instances where it's according to halacha but it isn't fair, or usually it's both the same thing?
No, they usually they try to work out something which is very close to halacha.
Are there instances where
has to
it's
be
not fair but it's according to halacha? Are there times where
the
the
halacha
outcome
is the most fear.
Uh-huh.
The American law is not always fair, but the halacha is always fair.
A judge I heard that 2 years ago, the Taisha judge told him to do a bezdin.
Yeah? Wow.
Yeah?
Chilul Hashem that there has to come to such a thing. In So no, the truth is, if you learn Baba Kama Baba Metzia Baba Basra, you see that the halachas that Rabbi Shlomo made, I mean, just you think about it, they're very equitable. And when you hear law, secular law, sometimes it sounds good at the first glance, but they're very draconian when it's applied to the law. And so there's one twist, an interesting twist over here, is in the Rambam. The Rambam says, Omer lo hanizik. If the nizik says to the mazik, Psoiki mi v'tein al yodi, give me all the money, I should heal myself. So basically, he can only demand basically direct wages that he lost, which he has to prove also, which is not so easy. And the other thing which is direct, which is momentous, which is how much doctor bills he has. Now there could be anticipated doctor bills. Now if the initial thing was $150, hard to imagine that eventually it's gonna add up to $20,000. But what's the din?
Maybe
So,
every time
you have a
does
good
physical
huh?
therapy.
Right.
Maybe every time does physical therapy, it's 150 a visit.
Okay, right. Amalai nizak psoiki me. V'tein al yodi, give me the money, give me $10,000, that's what I need. V'ani arap es atzma, ein shem eloi, you don't listen to him. Shrem eloi, shem eloi terap atzmacha, v'achzak ani kemazik. Maybe you're not going to go heal yourself, and everyone's going to say, "Look at this guy walking around with a split nose." And I'm the mazik. He pays every day. He pays every bill. Bring me the bills, and I'll pay the bills. Or he does it the other thing. There is a special account set up, and the money is dumped into that account. An escrow. What does it? There's an escrow account. And the Bezdin will dispense the money for the doctor bills as the doctor bills come in. The second is really a takona. Why did Chazal make this takona? It's a takona really for the mazik, because the bills might never end up stopping. So they said that it's a mila for the mazik. That they tell them if you want, it's like a one-time payout. The Bezdin will estimate how much the doctor bills will be. You will give it in one check. It'll go into an escrow account, and Bezdin will pay the bills. What happens if there's bills on top of that? You walk home free. It's fine. That's the one choice. The other choice you get, you pay every bill as they come in. Now, obviously, Bezdin always has the third option, is if they don't, which is especially when there's a pshora, to say, listen, we're not going to run after this guy for every bill. We have no patience for that. We don't have the manpower to do that. So, never mind. Let's just do one time. We'll put the money in account and we'll pay the things. But that's the bottom line. Next Shaila. So this person asked the Shaila and asked it again and asked it in a different way, but he was really desperate. I should give him an answer. So their question was like this. You can read it. A Jewish man owns a public company. Requests me to find him a non-kosher beef from Argentina. He owns majority shares in a publicly traded company. It's here in New York. And he requested this Yid that he should get him non-kosher beef from Argentina. Okay. Now there was a second shaili after there's a company, a Jew, a partner, a Chinese and a Jew in a city in China. And in China, it's very popular. The Yidden stopped eating the schmaltz, and the Chinese started eating schmaltz. It's a very kosher thing to put on the table, a dish with schmaltz. You know, just simple schmaltz. Just a dish with fat, and people take like a fork, just like cream cheese. They smear it on the bread, just
Not
like
only a Pesach.
yeah. In my shul in the Bronx, there were old people that remembered when they were kids that their mother used to put schmaltz shabbos on the table. Ooh, it was so delicious. We used to take the challah and we used to smear the schmaltz, and we used to put some radishes on top. Rabbi, that was the best Gan Eden. Turns out the doctors think it's Gehenna. But they thought it was Gan Eden.
Hungarians call it say.
Oh yeah?
They take challah, dip it into the schmaltz.
Oi.
Dip it into the...
Schmaltz.
So this guy wants to know about this din. Okay, so bottom line, let's read in Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch in Yeridei Siman Kuf Yud Zayin says, "Kol davar she'asur min haTorah, afu b'shemut ba'anoah." Everything which is also min haTorah, even though it's mutar ba'anoah, if it's also to eat, imud davar miyuchel ma'achel, also lots of b'schayr. If it's something which is dedicated for food, you're not allowed to make schayr in it. Abisha said. The Chacham said, we want you to do business with another Yid. We don't want you to do business with a Goy. You'll do business with a Yid, you'll become friendly with a Yid. You do business with a Goy, you get friendly with a Goy, you'll end up with a Goyish. We want you to keep away from the Goy. Okay. And then you'll start eating non-kosher food. We don't want to get into non-kosher food, so no selling Isure Achila, that's it. No business like that. Chutz min ha'chelev, besides chelev, the fat of an animal, the tallow. The Torah says, we spoke about this a few weeks ago in the Shira Tuesday night, that the Taz says Chazal can't make a gzeira against it. The Torah says befedish that the tallow you should sell to a goy to make to make whatever he wants to make out of it. You can't make a gzeira against that. Pischei Tshuva brings an interesting shailach some soifas in Yeridei Kuf Dalet. Ir achas beretz Asia. Sheshmas somatan godel ben hayishmaelim bedogim tmeim aboim Italia maluchim echavir. We're looking at it. He says it's a doggy dolphin. I don't know if it's dolphin fish, but today dolphin fish is illegal to sell. But this is talking about 150 years ago, and they were salting it and they were putting it into jars. And so basically, there's two partners. There's a Jew in Italy and there's a Goy in Egypt. And he wants to ship boatloads of this fish, non-kosher fish. And so he says, Yisrael goes to the sellers of the fish. A long tshuva that goes into 4 tshuvas. And Imasik, and his maskona is, if the Yid makes a contract and then that's on his name, it's also, that's Chazal said, it's also. There's something even hold that to Mederaisa also. Aval Khan, Avol he says mutter. Ma'achad aleke mishicho l'roif poiskim Yisrael me'eni Yehuda loikonim bekesef. He says over here the contract is not in the name of the Jew. Bachlal, for a Jew to do a transaction with a goy is very complicated. It's a big sugya chosher misha. That's why selling chometz you have to go to a rov. Why? Why can't you sell chometz to a goy? Just knock on your neighbor's door and because making a kinyan with a goy is very complicated. And so many machloikis and machlamaisa and the rishonim and this. What's koina? For sure, if you make meshicha or agboa, you take it from the goy and the goy takes it from you. That's a kinyan. But just giving money, love dafka is koina. It's very complicated how to make a kinyan with a goy, and that's why that Lepoil Dal Rebbe writes extensively about it. And Minig Yisrael, you sell it through a dove.
Was it but having like you said, having a contract with his name is not okay, but an LLC or some other workaround?
Oh, so what's the thing? He said, that's exactly what he said. Don't buy it on your name.
Had the LLCs back then or something?
No, he said buy it on the goy's name.
Why don't your wife's name?
No, the goy is not his wife. The goy, buy it on the goy's name. And the money, he says, it's like this. He said, buy it on the guy's name. Anyway, and don't make a special thing, these barrels. So then, if it's these barrels, then you're koina. Just 100 barrels. The guy could decide any barrels. Al pi din Yisrael, there was no kinyan here. Tell him 100 barrels have to be delivered to the boat. Don't have your name on the contract, and don't have it delivered to your house, directly to the boats. When the guy sells it in Cairo, he's going to send you half the money. That money is not, in your mind, is not half the profit of the business. That's your schar tirche for being a shliach to do whatever he has to do. That's your schar tirche. It's not 50% of the profit. And that's what he says, even though, but just because it's a big business and there's a lot of money involved and it's so he's makel on this. Now, in the case of the person that asked me the question, it's much easier because he's really a middleman. He's really not gonna get. He's just getting a little. He's getting money. He's not even getting a percentage, a sizable percentage of profits here. He's getting money for his because this company is relying on him to find, because he's Argentinian, to find good places to get them good prices. He's just a middleman. He's not buying or selling anything.
That makes a shareholder.
The problem is the Jew who's buying it. You are selling this yid is arranging a sale from a goy in Argentina to a yid in New York. I'm not allowed to. If I know that you're a nazir, I'm not allowed to give you wine to drink. So if the Jew is not allowed to buy treif, you might say he's not allowed to own this company. Whatever company it is, it's a burger company, whatever. It's Burger King. It's not Burger King. Well, let's say he has majority shares in Burger King. So, but the answer is like this. B'chlal, you have to understand, what does it mean that a person has majority holding in a publicly traded company? Lav dafka, that means that he owns the company. And I remember a shir I learned for a few years in Yeshiva Serebeni Yitzchak Kolchonon, and there is a Choshev Talmud Chochem. His name is Rabbi J.D. Bleich. He teaches also law in Cardozo. And his argument was that a public, like Rabbi Chometz and Pesach and Ribis and other thing, he said, a publicly traded company, John Doe incorporated the company, and it's his company. 50 years later, a Yid pulls off a coup, and he buys 60% of the shares. He doesn't own the company. He owns 60% of the profits in the company. He doesn't own the company. It's not his company.
Even though he's a voting power? 100%?
Yeah, that was his opinion. That was his opinion. I'm not saying everyone, and I'm not a big expert in law, but this one much I will say, that if you're selling from the person who is the middleman between the seller and the buyer, could always say, I'm not doing lifnei iver leisit mirshel. The buyer is relying on choshev epoiskim who hold that he doesn't own the company. He doesn't own the company. He only owns a majority stake in the profits of the company, but he doesn't own the company. So I'm not even know if the evil is sitting Michel.
Not a good argument.
Was that, and to be a bondholder is a whole different story? If the company goes under, you're compensated first.
You're right.
No, I don't know. But I'm only talking here in the case of Lifnei Iver. It's not so direct. To say that I'm being Machshel Yid. He's a frum Yid. He has his Poisek. His Poisek tells tells him that it's mutter for you to buy. So I should say, no, I'm not going to, you want the wine, you tell me your Rav tells you it's kosher. I'm saying, no. But my Rav said not. Well, but you say it's kosher. You have a Pesach, you're relying on it's kosher. So I think it's not a problem.
As a side point, I think in the 70s, there was a Rav from Woodmere, when they're leaving his post to become a CEO of a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
And,
So apparently that's a better job. So, probably better.
no, it happens to be it was a fruit company. Fruit
Interesting.
company. It wasn't a meat company.
Interesting. Now, with the business in China is a little more complicated. Now, there's the mice I said there should be makel because most of the fat that's coming out of the cow that's being sold separately as fat is Sheilos, and that's 100% mutter. So, Elamai, there's a little bit of shuman, of treifa there. So I said that the Jew should make a verbal agreement with his Chinese partner that 100% of the profit from the shuman goes to the goy. And based on that calculation, he's taking 100% of the profit from the chaylev. He said, the Chinese are very nervous people. They don't like to do anything in writing, and signing, thing. So I said, let him tell it to him and shake his hand when they're starting the partnership, and that's good enough. He knows in his mind that that's the deal.
Are you allowed to have a company, meat company, Treff? I know someone in
No,
New
not
Jersey.
allowed to. Not allowed.
There's a big company.
Not
You
allowed.
go every week there. He sell everybody.
Okay.
All goyish.
It's all awesome. It's just a din in Shulchan Aruch. There's no question.
Unless he's the CEO of a public traded company.
Yeah, unless it's a publicly traded company, according to many.
Maybe,
That's
I don't
fine. The third question of today is like this. This Pesach, I thought I'm picking something which is not such a gevaldik sugya. It's easy. I said this year I'm picking something easy as a theme for Pesach. Charoises. What can be complicated with charoises? I said this year there's something interesting because
do it on Friday.
to do it on Friday, and then I said, something nice for this year. We picked the charoises. A lot of nice things in the charoises. Baknas Yisrael. Today's Pesach Sheni. We mashlim some such thing. So as a kinus Torah, so we spoke about it, and someone asked a question. Someone said, based on what we were saying, he said, "Oh, 1 second. Am I allowed to make guacamole on Shabbos?" Didn't think about it. The Malach of Lisha is on Daf Kuf Nun Hey Masech Shabbos. 156 daf. You get exhausted by the time. So, you can't get to the end. So the Malach of Lisha sometimes a little weak.
Is this the same as eggs, or?
I mitzvibel is Lisha. Yeah, that famous shaila of the I mitzvibel is Lisha. Okay?
No, I'll take
Then do exactly the way he did.
I think my in-laws use they hold two knives and they cut it.
Oh, everyone has a trick for I mitzvibel. But Zwei mitzvibel has this is one of the main shilas is the main shaila really is this shaila, the shaila of Lisha. Okay, so let's first look in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. The Rebbe says like this: Halo shemavis malachas veinachayv b'nesenes mayim l'toicha kemach b'lavad eleat sheyagabel kedarki b'choil veina magabel chayv el b'dvarim shem b'nei gimel kegon kemach o yofer l'titchel binyan. So machlokes Rebbe and Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yossi. The first opinion is more mekel. He says two things. Number one, that Lisha is only when you mix it. When you mix the water, Lisha means to knead the dough. So he says kneading is only when you mix it, not when you put the water inside. Number two, that it has to be something that that's the derech, like cement and water, or flour and water. People knead dough all the time, so they take flour and water and they mix it together and then they knead it. Or people want to build a building, so they take cement and water, they mix it together, and then they mix it. That's when it's also mederaisa as lisha. Anything else is not also menatoida, only the rabbanon. Therefore, everything starts more kuladik when you have that. When you start with that standpoint, so basically the only thing deraisa is flour and water, or cement and water. Anything else is really only also the rabbanon. So, but if you're going to do it with a shinui, then it's mutter. If you do shinui, means you do only a little quantity and you mix it a little bit with a shinui.
Then you do flour and water too?
No, flour and water not, because that's the deraisa. Like someone told me the other day, the trick of every dove is the first thing is to make it a derabona. First trick is to make it a derabona. Once it's a derabona, easy. You could work around it. It's also deraisa. Even there's one shit that says it's also deraisa. So this opinion holds that unless it's flour and water, and unless you're mamish mixing it, it's only a issa derabona. Mamela, as long as you're doing it mashinu, which is a small quantity, and you're mixing it by shinu, it's mutter. The second opinion is chayluk, which is shit of Rabbi. They say no. I don't care if this is something which is always gibel or not. No one builds a house with taking apples and pears and mixing it with a little bit of nuts and wine. That's not how you make cement. But doesn't matter. Bekulam chayev, you're chayev, and not only that, right when you put the water, it's like bekoyach and bepoil. You need when you put in the water bekoyach, it's like, it's already delisha. Or the other opinion says, no, bepoil, you have to mix it. Bekulav chayev says mayim lavad, or yachem mishar mashkem, mei peiris doesn't have to be water, it can be mei peiris too, if bishla gibel klal. This opinion says elim kein gimel urach. Unless it's watery. If it's watery, then there is no lisha. You did nothing. Then you can do it through a shinui. But it has to be a giborach. If it's not a giborach, forget about it. You can't do it. You can stand on your head. If it's not a giborach, it's also deraisa. That's what the second opinion. Even with a shinui. The only way you can do it is a giborach.
But first it's hard, and you put water, it becomes more soft.
Depends.
Then it becomes very large.
So it depends. But first of all, I have to make it right away. It can't be over isser and then make it good. But not everything, like for this guacamole, who wants a watery guacamole? What are you going to put?
But you could dress it. You could put in lemon juice or something.
A little bit of lemon juice. You have to put a lot of lemon juice to make it watery.
Yeah, it's made paytas.
Watery or just not
Lamaisa, I'm just going to say the bottom line is like this. There is a beautiful piece here in the Badei HaShulchan Rabbi Avram Chaim Noah talking about a similar question. Anyway, just Lamaisa La'alocha, just finish reading it. It has to be very watery and also make a shinui. What's the shinui? When the solid hits the liquid, you do it the opposite of what usually happens. At first, you usually put the solid and then you put the liquid. Today, you do it the opposite. The Alter Rebbe doesn't finish off; it's missing. Parsha, they're missing the ends of it. Aval b'simin shin chavdalat kosav. The Alter Rebbe writes in a few simonim later, "Kan this bar shom sheyesh lahachmik kesvor zu v'chinoigim with the mask machmer like the second svor." That's our meaning. Kan sheyesh lahachmik kadas yesh chelkim. The Abada Shulchan has an interesting shaila. B'zmanenu he writes, "Noigim lasas ma'ichelek tanim priya nikra bananas." There's such a fruit called bananas. Recently it came out. Something called bananas. And they give it to children to eat.
Make it softer.
In Yerushalayim, Rabbi Avram Chaim Noah 100 years ago. So he said that
That's actually when it started taking off bananas. The whole history. Before no one had was.
It's just a Jewish businessman. So what does I take a spoon? So he says like this. He says because you're doing it with a spoon and you're doing it right before the child eats. There's no shail of toicha. Because that's not usually mashing is with a fork and you're doing it with a spoon and you're doing it samach l'suda. Yeah.
Even if you're not washing it?
He's not going into that. He says it's either way, however you're doing it, since you're doing it with a spoon, it's not toichen and it's samach l'suda. The only problem is the spoon is a shina. Because usually it's not, usually with the fork. So therefore, by definition, it's a sim. It doesn't matter how you're going to do it now, it's a shina. The only problem, he says, is lisha, mixing. So now you're going to mix in a little bit of mitz, a little bit of juice. Other poskim hold, even if you didn't mix in, he says the banana itself has liquid in it. So other poskim, bottom line is, there's a choshev erov in Yerushalayim, and a Forkash says it's also gomor. But Rabbi Avram Chaim Noah is a great posik. He deals with it back and forth, and he says no, he thinks it's mutter. The juice that comes out from within the banana. Yeah. So but his maskona is lakula. Anyway, he brings from the Taz that if someone doesn't have a choice, he could rely on the first opinion. And he says with the bananas, you have no choice. You can't make it Friday. The kid's not going to eat it. It'll be disgusting. You take Friday, you're going to squeeze it, put it in a jar.
It turns black right away.
It turns black right away. Oh, avocados are exactly the same thing.
Actually, avocados, if you put leave the
It doesn't help. It doesn't do.
It helps a little bit.
It doesn't do
They say
anything.
it does, I don't know, they say it does.
They say it does. Kaddish Rabbanon helps also.
Avocado Rabbanon helps more.
I hope it helps more than avocado. Than avocado. The main thing in avocado is not to put sharp stuff, because sharp stuff turns it black right away.
Like what kind of lemon?
No, lemon is good. Let's say you want to put garlic into it. You're going to put a lot of garlic. That's going to take over the avocado, so it's going to turn black on you. And the pit is not going to work anything.
Oh, so Rabbi Avraham Chaim Noah holds like you. Mela, he says that you mash it with a spoon, but elamai to put the liquid in b'shinui. So if you have already squeezed lemon from before Shabbos, before Yom Tov, for sure it's not a problem. You can put. But if you don't have a squeezed lemon before Shabbos, it's a little complicated how you do it. B'shimon, I guess you can open up the avocado and start squeezing a little bit of lemon on top of the avocado, and then start mashing it with the spoon. But so Lamaisa, he holds lakula. Lamaisa holds lakula. Huh?
I don't mix extra.
According to Rabbi Avraham Chaim Noah, not. And I sold to Shmira Shabbos Lakotza brings lakula. So bottom line lakula. But the interesting things that they bring, Pois can bring. One of them is a quick oats. So even if you pluck a kli chamishi, it's also because it's lisha. It's lisha, not because of bishul. And what happens is you're taking a kli shlishi, but then you're putting in it's lisha. They say.
The lisho is if you start mixing with a spoon.
But the other opinion says even if you don't, and we have to be machmer like the other opinion, just to put in the liquid. So therefore they say not to make it on Shabbos. Ad kedei kach, Rabbi Farkash says that if you give cereal milk to your kids, you shouldn't give them too much in the plate if they're not going to finish it. Because what's going to happen? What happens?
They become lisho, yeah.
They become lisha.
That's right.
So either have the kids pour in the milk, which usually when the kids pour in the milk, more milk is on the table.
For everyone.
Or put in their plates so much as you think that they're going to finish eating it. To me, it was like an eye opener. Wow, I never thought of that.
Nobody's mocking.
I'm just telling you what he writes.
People who don't put the milk to overflow, they put as much milk as the cereal
Right.
makes and they can finish it.
Well, okay.
Come to my house.
Okay.
Exactly. I don't know. After I read this, I was just thinking maybe just the kids should pour. I don't know. Anyway, what was interesting is while I'm reading Rabbi Farkash's Sefer, so I see that whatever we were dealing with, we had a question, which is to figure out several things. Mashal, the what's mashman the Agoda from the Rebbe's Agoda, the Rebbe writes, "Koydem atvila merach b'yayin shebetoich kli." That before the charoises, what you do is that right before the tvila of the mortar and the charoises, you take the some of the charoises and you put it into your tetzel. That's the way the Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe did, and you make it soft that way, and then you dip the mortar in the charoises. And it's mashma from the Rebbe that Shabbos and not Shabbos is always the same on Hogan. But Paul asked people, and they said that's the way it is. The Rebbe always did it that way. Well, that's against what the Alter Rebbe writes. The Alter Rebbe Fedish writes, look here in the last paragraph. That you should soften the charoises from Erev Shabbos, from Shochach Larachim Erev Shabbos. If you forgot, you should do it at Shabbos through a shinui. First you should do the mashka, and then you should put the charoises. You could mix it with your finger, which is a shinui, or push it with the kli, but not mix it with a spoon. Ayin Simen Shin Chaf Aleph. So, mefurish b'divrei Admor Zaken shebei Pesach shecho b'Sarach tzorich l'rachach hareis l'fnei Shabbos dafka. So why is our minig different than the Alter Rebbe says b'feidish Shulchan Aruch? And
People thought that had to do it with Fedish.
no, so why? So he has an interesting biur, Stamazai. He says, why is it? It's a funny thing in the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe says that you're supposed to do it the charoises on Friday. If you didn't do it on Friday, do it by night. B'shinui. Watch it the shinui that you should make it rach, very soft. And do it through a shinui. If you make it soft and do it through a shinui, that's mutar afilu lechatchila. So why does the Alter Rebbe say to do it on Friday? So he has a beer like this. The Gemara says that when you mix through a shinui, it's like Michael Chamoyim. It's not covered for a mitzvah that you should do something like Michael Chamoyim. That's his abir. I think it's a little far-fetched for several reasons. First of all, it's just original way of thinking. Second of all, we don't mix it. The Alter Rebbe says Yochel Arve. We don't mix it. We just put it in. And the bottom line is that his husband doesn't explain the Minhag Chabad, because the Minhag Chabad is Shabbos and not Shabbos always do the same thing. To take a little bit of the charosis from the kaida and put it into the tetzel. So he's not explaining the Minhag Chabad. So that bleibt doch hakasha. So Elamai, I think the beer that we gave is taka, not a bad beer at all. Which is that the Alter Rebbe said that you should do it on Friday like this, because the Minhag Olam is to have a dish on the kaida, and right before they dip the mortar in the charosis, they take some wine and they pour it in. That is a problem, because it's not a shinui. Even you're going to put a lot of wine and you're going to make it a bli ladaka, you're going to make it very soft. Even though you're going to put a lot of wine and you make it soft, but that's not a shinui from derech hachel. Whenever you make a fruit salad, you chop up the fruits and then you put in a little bit of grape juice, a little bit of wine, so you didn't do a shinui. So we're scared you're going to forget. So therefore, do it on Friday. If you forget to do it on Friday, you could do it by night, but remember to do it through a shinui, which is not to take the wine and put it into the charosis. Take the charosis and put it in the wine.
I'm saying if you do Erev Tafshil,
It doesn't help, because that's a different malacha, that's only for cooking. But the Minhag Chabad is always to do it b'shinui. The Minhag Chabad is always to do it b'shinui. The Friedeke Rebbe's Minhag was, and the Rebbe's Minhag was to take some of the charosis in the kaida and to put it in to the dish that has the wine from the dalet koises. So he always did it. It's a blila raka. It's soft because a lot of wine compared to the amount of charosis that went in, and it was always b'shinui. It was instead of putting the liquid into the salad went into the liquids. It's what are you scared he's going to forget? There is nothing to forget over here. There's nothing to forget. He's always doing it b'shinui. Why taka did the Friedeke Rebbe do it that way? So I found that there's a sikha where the Rebbe said that the Friedeke Rebbe wanted to connect it to the dalet koises, because the dalet koises is for the shaykhs to the geula, and the reason we make the charosis soft, blila raka, is because the Yerushalmi says that the charosis, there's two opinions. One is that the charosis is to remind us of the bricks and the cement. That's why it has to be blila ova. And the other opinion is it has to be blila raka to remind us of the makadam. We can't do both. So therefore we have it on the kaida heavy. And right before we dip in the more in the charosis, we put it into the wine. But the wine, which wine? To make it a blila raka, we use the wine from the dalet koises, which is dalet l'shayna shel geula. That's what the Rebbe says in the Sikha. So Ibazoi
from the Makos?
Yeah, there was one.
Not the Makos.
No, not the
That
one.
you spill out.
That one you spill out. The wine that's spoiled. No, not that. That wine is bad one. This is a good one.
I don't know, it tastes good. You know?
Oh, it tastes good.
Just kidding.
So that's what the Rebbe said.
Now, warm.
Now, I would say it came to my mind, even though l'chayra we spoke Shabbos Hagodol and Pesach, so many shiurim over it, but another nakuda came into my mind. The Shulchan Aruch says to put in yain, to put in a little bit of yain. The Tur Befedish says from the Rabbeinu Yochil that you put harbe yain, a lot of wine, until you make it soft. What's the machloikis? So I think very simple. There's a machloikis between the Pnei Moshe and the Korban Eidah. The Gemara says, is the Avdel Ava, is the Avdel Raka. Some make it, the charosis thick, zeichelatit, and some make it soft, zeicheladam. Which dam, which blood? So the Korban Eidah says that they used to take Jewish children, kill them, take their blood, and put it into the cement. Instead of water, they put it in as liquid into the cement that they used to build. So that was, but the Pnei Moshe says, it's a funny pshat, I've heard Shemedish. He says, no. The Gemara says Zeichel Adam, it means the dam of the first makkah. The first makkah, the 10 makkahs was dam. Now, based on this machloikas, you can understand. If you say it's the dam of the Jewish children that went into cement, then you put a little bit of red wine in the charosis. But if it's Zeicher, makadam, you have to put a lot of wine, otherwise it doesn't, a lot of red wine, otherwise it doesn't look like makkah's dam.
Big makkah.
This also explains if you say that it's that, this brings us also to the other thing. Do you put the wine into the charosis in the wine? That's why it has to be red wine. That's why the Friedeke Rebbe took the charosis out of the kaida and put it into his tetzel to show the connection, because the first The four kosher is the four Lashonos shel Geula, and the mark of dam was a schalta the Geula. So the Frierdiker Rebbe wanted to show the connection of the charoises now, till now, the charoises maram is on the tit. But now the charoises the maram is on the dam, which is Makar Rishona. And that was a schalta the Geula. That has connection with the four kosher. The four kosher is the four kosher shel Geula. Therefore, the Frierdiker Rebbe took a little bit of the charoises off the kaida and put it into his tetzel. Agav urche, and there, Agav urche ended up a maila lagabi Shabbos. Because we're making it watery, so it's a blila raka. And we're also doing it bishinui. Because usually when you make a fruit salad, you cut up the fruits and then you put the liquid. But over here, it's the opposite. That you're taking the salad and put it. So it's a blila raka, and you're doing it bishinui. Memela, we don't have to do anything special Shabbos different than any other Pesach. Because it's a blila raka and it's bishinui always. It's always we're doing it for whatever other reasons. We're making it a blila raka. We're making it soft, the charoises. When we're putting it we put a little amount of charoises compared to a lot of wine, which is in the dish. And we're doing it b'shinui. So Mamela, that's why our minig is not like the Alter Rebbe says.
Charoises we put on the Pesach plate, we put it before the Kiddush.
Yeah, but
So
then
how
it's
do you-
thick. The Rebbe used to take a little bit of that charoises and put it into his tetzel. And they used to become very soft, and then he used to dip the morad into that charoises. That was Anhogel of the
He
Rebbe.
would put the wine after the Kiddush.
No, wine. There was wine that used to spill out of the kois into the tetzel. Right before, after moitzi matzah, he used to take with a spoon a little bit of the mortar off the kaida and put it into the tetzel, and then he used to take the mortar and dip it in there, in the tetzel. That was the Rebbe's Anhog. I heard it from my father many times, and I asked Reb Nachum Shapiro, I asked others to that, and they said that's exactly the way the Rebbe did it, and it made no difference if Pesach was Chol B'Shabbos or not. So and then I found, after I gave the Shabbos Agodel, I found that the Rebbe Beferish says it in the Sikha, and he says the reason for that is because the Frierdiker Rebbe did it, and he wanted to connect the charoises, which is Zeichel Adam Makar Rishona, to the four koises, which is the Geula. But I'm saying that from them come tarois oichet the amaila, because we're making a blila raka and it's also bishinoi. So therefore, the minik Chabad is
But
Sai
he waited for the wine to put it into charoises after he made the Kiddush.
not till he mamish hold by motor. He used to make the
After the
charoises
second course,
After
Right.
the second course.
after the second course. Yeah,
So he
right
didn't
bef-
have charoises on his platter.
he had the charoises on the kaida, but
On
the
the kaida.
charoises didn't have wine in it.
Uh-huh.
The charoises was like very thick.
A bit dry.
And-
When I mean people, I don't know, I'm talking about like myself, when I make the charoises, I put a little wine in the beginning.
I also used to do it that way, but then I asked, but I don't know for sure if it's wrong to put a little bit of wine mechatchila. But I was told I can't get to the bottom of it.
That was completely dry.
I was told it was very, very hard and very dry, and that there was no wine in it. But who's in the kitchen to tell me? But the vada, everyone saw that the Rebbe used to take a spoon, take a little bit of charoises off the kaida right before morer, and put it into the tetzel and dip them on in the
There are a few
tetzel.
Jews who were in the
This
kitchen.
everyone saw this. Everyone saw
There's
this.
a couple of guys who were in the kitchen.
So you have to ask.
The guy Malvi.
All-
David Malka, you're going to ask him. Send
Not
him a text.
David, his brother, not David, his brother.
Which brother?
I think his brother in Israel was with him. Not
No, he wasn't.
I would love to find out.
David Malka was
There's a
there.
right, it's a Chabad.
I used to do it like Yankel.
David Malka was there for Pesach. He
But
did
he
a lot
had,
of time.
no, but there's another brother too there.
No. David Malka was there, not another brother.
Okay, David, we
Send him
can't
a,
talk to
send
him.
him a text. He's gonna
Yeah.
send
I
him
mean,
a
it's
text.
too late good shown, but he can't talk.
Send him a text.
Yeah, exactly.
And give him my regards, yes.
Okay.
So we used to, okay.
So I don't know exactly, but definitely everyone saw in the Rebbe's Kaida that the charoises was like very thick, and they say there was no wine in it. But Lapoil, everyone saw he took with a spoon a little bit of charoises and put it into the tetzel right before mortar kaida.
Show him
I
very
did it that
comfortable.
way.
I want to ask him. Yeah, I have to ask him. I must ask him. I really want before next year to ask him. Huh?
I did it that way this year, because after what I read before Pesach.
Where'd you read it?
I saw something, your man or something.
Okay. Okay, the Eibishter zal geben, the mitzvah, this is Pesach Sheni. Okay, so the Eibishter zal geben that kol der v'dor em dem aleinu l'chaleseinu v'HaKadosh Baruch Hu matzileinu miyodem. We should see the Atzola from the Eibishter b'vias Mashiach Tzidkeinu.
We have, I think, for sure we have them resuming today. A lot of people watched, right?
Yeah.